this morning.
Ram, I got you in first. Ramji.
जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधर्विका गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी श्री श्री राधा दामोदर जी की जय। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमान भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्यलीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमान भक्ति वेदांत त्रिविक्रम गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्यलीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमान भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्यलीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमान भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। आचार्य केशरी परम गुरुदेव नित्यलीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जगत गुरु नित्यलीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। महाभागवत श्रील गौर किशोरदास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। सप्तम गोस्वामी सच्चिदानंद श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। श्री गौड़ी वेदांताचार्य श्री बलदेव विद्याभूषण प्रभु की जय। श्री गौड़ी रसाचार्य श्री विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय। श्री नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद प्रभु त्रय की जय। श्री कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। व्यास भिन्न श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट दास रघुनाथ शर गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री लोकनाथ दास गोस्वामी की जय। श्री भूगर्भ गोस्वामी की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर गोस्वामी राय रामानंद शिखी महिति माधवी देवी गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री अंतरद्वीप मायापुर सीमांत द्वीप गोद्रुम द्वीप मध्य द्वीप कोल द्वीप ऋतु द्वीप जौन द्वीप मोद्र द्रुम द्वीप रुद्रा द्वीपात्मक श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गो गोवर्धन द्वारस्वनात्मक श्री ब्रजमंडल की जय। सर्वभीष्ट प्रदाता श्री गिरिराज गोवर्धन महाराज की जय। श्री ललिता विशाखा आदि सखी वृंद की जय। श्री अनंग मंजरी की जय। श्री रूप मंजरी रति मंजरी कमल मंजरी नयन मंजरी विनोद मंजरी रमन मंजरी की जय। जय श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड यमुना गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय। कुल देवी भगवती पौर्णमासी देव योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र जी की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय। भक्ति विनाशनकारी श्री नरसिंह भगवान की जय। नृसिंहदेव भक्त प्रवर श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। चारों धाम चारों आचार्य चारि संप्रदाय की जय। आकर मद्राज श्री चैतन्य मठ की जय। श्री केशव जी गौड़िया मठ की जय। श्री रूप सनातन गौड़िया मठ की जय। श्री गोपीनाथ भवन की जय। श्री गिरिधारी गौड़िया मठ की जय। श्री श्री केशव जी गौड़ी मठ कुलदीप धाम एवं शिल गुरुदेव समाधि मंदिर की जय। जय श्री दामोदर गौड़ी मठ की जय। श्री रमन बिहारी गौड़ी मठ की जय। श्री राधा माधव गौड़ी मठ की जय। श्री गौरवाणी गौड़ी मठ की जय। श्री गंगा माता गौड़ी मठ की जय। श्री वासंगम की जय। श्री भक्ति रूम की जय। अन्य अन्य शाखा मत समूह की जय। कलयुग पावन त्रिभुवन मंगलकारी गोलोकेर प्रेम धन हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। जुगल नाम हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। मृदंग करताल की जय। जय श्री भक्ति कमल गोविंद महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति स्वरूप दामोदर महाराज की जय। श्री गौर गोविंद गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति विज्ञान भारती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति वल्लभ तीर्थ गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति कुमुद संत गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति वैभव पुरी गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति जीवन जनार्दन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति दैत माधव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति रक्षक श्रीधर गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति श्री रूप सिद्धांति गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। श्री भक्ति प्रमोद पुरी गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। स्वपरिकर जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। वृंदावन वासी भक्त वृंद की जय। नीलाचल वासी भक्त वृंद की जय। नवद्वीपवासी भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर देशवासी भक्त वृंद की जय। जय देशे वैशे गौरांगिरगण की जय। होया छेन होई बेन प्रभु जतदास की जय। Devotees watching on Facebook, YouTube and Zoom की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Tarun Prabhu, you're putting up the words for me. Thank you. Radha-kunda tata kunja-kutira Govardhana parvata Jamuna-tira Radha-kunda tata kunja-kutira Govardhana parvata Jamuna-tira Kusuma-sarovara Manasa Ganga Kalinda Nandini Vipulataranga Vanshivata Gokula Dhira Samira Brindavana Taru Latika Vanira Radha-kunda tata kunja-kutira Govardhana parvata Jamuna-tira Agamrika-kula Malaya Batasa Mayura Brahmara Murali Vilasa Venu Shringhapada Chingha Meghamala Vasanta Shankha Shankha Karatala Radha-kunda tata kunja-kutira Govardhana parvata Jamuna-tira Jugal vilase Anukula jani Jugal vilase Anukula jani Lila vilasa Uddhava-kunda ये सब छोड़ता कहीं नहीं जाऊं ये सब छोड़ता कहीं नहीं जाऊं ये सब छोड़ता परान हराऊं ये सब छोड़ता परान हराऊं अकति विनोद कहे सुनो काना तू वायु दीपक हमार परान अकति विनोद कहे सुनो काना ठाकुर भक्ति विनोद कहे सुनो काना तू वायु दीपक हमार परान राधा-कुंड तता कुंज-कुटीर गोवर्धन पर्वत Radha-kunda, Radha-kunda Jaya Radha-kunda, Jai Radha-kunda Jaya Shama-kunda, Radha-kunda Jaya Shama-kunda, Jaya Giriraja Jaya Govardhana, Giriraja Jaya Govardhana, Jaya Giriraja Jaya Govardhana, Giriraja Jaya Govardhana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Jai.
Jai.
Jai. Haribol. That was ecstatic. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I'm currently in that post-tilak phase where blowing your nose is a very dangerous move. So sorry if I sound sniffly in my intro. Miranda Syagyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasani Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So before beginning, I want to offer my obeisances unto the lotus feet of my beloved Diksha and Shikha Gurudev, Vishnu Pada Stotra Asata Shri Srila Bhaktivedanta Bonga Swami Maharaj, to the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravist, Srila Bhaktivedanta Naranga Swami Maharaj and Nitya Lila Pravist, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamanga Swami Maharaj, to the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravesh, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and to the lotus feet of all our Gaudiya Guru Varg, to all Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, all assembled on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube. Yep, I got that right, Ramananda. Dandavat Pranams. So today is such an auspicious day. Well, they're all auspicious days, but today is such an auspicious day. It's day 16. That's not why it's auspicious, but I think we've come to just over halfway through, which seems astonishing that it's gone by so quickly. But we're fortunate that we still have, I think, around another 2 weeks. So we still have a lot of nectar. But today is such an auspicious day because we're going to Radha-kunda. So today is Radha-kunda parikrama. So the first place we'll visit is Uddhava-kunda with Pujapad Tridandi Maharaj for half an hour. Then we will go to Radha-kunda with Pujapad Nemi Maharaj for half an hour.
40 minutes.
40 minutes, sorry. 40 minutes. Then we will go to Kusuma-sarovara back with Pujapad Tridandi Maharaj. But before that, we are going to look at the route today. And then after the route today, we're going to watch a beautiful video. And then Maharaj's time will start. So without further ado, shall we look at the route, Maharaj?
Yes.
Okay, I've got to find it, but I know it's somewhere.
All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. So, yes. So you can see our route today from our Giridhari Gaudiya Math. Where you're going with your cursor.
Where are we starting?
Down,
Here?
down. Yes. So from Giridhari Gauri Mat, we walk actually behind our mat now, right across to the other side of Govardhan. Go ahead, Tarun. Yes, that's it. Yes, we're walking across. We walk across a natural gully. This is not like a road that has been, bulldozed through or anything like that. It's the natural gully that is there. So we walk across and then we come up the other side of Giriraj, which is following from our south end parikrama. You see, we went round the south end and now we're going to complete. And about where you are now, a little bit higher, I think, is Uddhava-kunda. Yes, approximately there. And then it's a very short stretch into Radha-kunda and Shama-kunda. And then we're going to, yes, go up there. There you go. And around Radha-kunda and Shama-kunda. Yes, around. But actually, we're going to go through the center of Radha-kunda and glorify there. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes, very good. Yes. Okay, then you can go right around Radha-kunda. Yes, up to the top, and across. And then keep going across into Shama-kunda. That's right. Very good. Okay, that's all. And you keep coming around, yes. And then we're going to go down on the other side to Kusuma-sarovara, yes, which is about there. Completely opposite Uddhava-kunda. And then we're going to come back to our Giridhari Gauri Mat. Yes. Okay, that's Kusuma-sarovara. And then we're going to come back there. So this is our route for the day. And you can notice how Giriraj herself, has disappeared in this northern section, either due to separation or due to the curse of Pulastya Rishi, which is forcing him to sink a mustard seed a day. So even in like the last 30, 40 years, we've personally seen Giriraj shrinking, which is mystically astonishing. So this is happening. Okay.
When was that curse made?
Well, Pulastya Rishi is one of the sons of Lord Brahma. So this was right back in the Satya Yuga. And yes, this was when Giriraj was 64 miles long and 8 yojans high. So it can be calculated. If you take 3 or 4 mustard seeds together, one devotee did it once. But anyway, it's quite astonishing we're seeing Giriraj.
This Manu or a previous Manu?
This Manu. Yeah. Okay, Tarunji, you'd like to put the video on?
Already got questions. You haven't even started.
I know everything's a bit backed up today, but carry on. Let's put the video up.
Video. Okay. Am I sharing? I'm not sharing. Share sound. Share. Video. Downloads. Where's the WhatsApp video? It's this one, right?
Yes, that's it. Go ahead. Uddhava-kunda. Jai. Janardhan Prabhu ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you so much. Haribol, Haribol.
That was amazing.
Yes, beautiful. Okay. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev Nitya-lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya-lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my prostrated Dandavat pranams to everyone on this thread and everyone who is listening on all the other platforms. My Dandavat pranams to you all. Hare Krishna. So yes, this was a very beautiful video introduction to the sounds and the visuals and the atmosphere of our parikrama, our crowded parikrama. Always Giriraj, as we were describing yesterday, has this very festive mood of joy and nourishing and munificence. And we've been hearing so many different descriptions of different personalities as we've been going around. It's as if we've been getting to know these different personalities, like in Dira Samira, we were talking about Gauridas Pandit, etc. And in Gokulananda, we were talking about Lokanath Goswami and Narottam Das, all these different personalities. And also yesterday, we were talking something of the personality of Giriraj himself, or Girirani herself. And today, as we walk up towards Radha-kunda, we're going to be introduced to another very exceptional, most exceptional personality of Uddhava. Uddhava is that great, dearest friend of Sri Krishna in Mathura, basically, and Dwarka. Uddhava is the cousin brother of Krishna. Uddhava's father is called Devabhaga. Devabhaga's brother is Vasudeva, who is Krishna's father. So he's the younger cousin brother. And Uddhava grew up playing with dolls that looked like Krishna and Balaram. He was so entranced with his worship sometimes of Krishna and Balaram as a child. He would be worshipped. He's in a mood of Aishwarya, very much a mood of understanding and appreciating that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His guru is Brihaspati from the Swargaloka. So he's a most extraordinary, elevated personality. He's described as the mantri, or the minister in Dwarka. Even Krishna asks his advice at different times. So Uddhava is an exceptional personality. The name Uddhava means festival of joy. This is what the name means, festival of joy. But he's a Jnani Bhakta. He always will see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can't go out of that conception, even though we know that he comes here to Braj on the order of Krishna to pacify Krishna's family members. When Krishna has left Braj, Akrura has taken him to Mathura, and Krishna knows that the inhabitants of Braj are suffering the deepest intensity of separation from him. All of Braj, the cows, the birds, the Jamuna river, Giriraj himself, herself is also, all of the residents of Braj are feeling deprived of Krishna's company. So Krishna, knowing this, he sends, my Gurudev describes that one day Krishna is sitting on the roof in Mathura, and he's thinking, who could he possibly send to represent him to Vrindavan, to give messages of consolation to the Brijabasis? And as he's thinking like that, then suddenly Uddhava appears. And Uddhava actually has a complexion like Krishna. He's darkish. He wears clothes like Krishna, He wears a yellow dhoti, and etc. And he looks something like Krishna. He's a very beautiful personality. But he suddenly appears, and then Krishna immediately understands, oh yes, this is the person who can act as my personal messenger. So he requests Uddhava at that time, and he imparts to him many messages. And Krishna arranges for Uddhava to have the very best chariot to travel into Braj. So he gives him the very same chariot that he himself was brought to Braj by Akrura. Kamsa, he gave Akrura his own chariot, the best Rolls Royce of all chariots that was there. He gave to Akrura, and Akrura put this chariot in the hands of Krishna, of course, after Kamsa had been killed by Krishna. So Uddhava is in this chariot and he's coming into Braj. And we know this is the beautiful chapter from chapter 46 in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Uddhava, he spends some time with Nanda Baba and Mother Yashoda. And we'll hear most of this pastime when we come to Uddhava Kyari. But today we're going to celebrate this particular kund of Uddhava-kunda, which was manifested specifically by Brajranabha in memory of Uddhava. We understand that Brajranabha is the great grandson of Krishna. So Brajranabha's father is Aniruddha and his mother is Usha. And we perhaps remember that pastime of with Banasura, when Aniruddha was carried through the airwaves into the palace of Usha, and that beautiful pastime there, where Krishna and Lord Shiva, they confront each other in a wonderful battle. And Aniruddha's father is Pradumna. Pradumna is the first son of Krishna. So therefore, Brajranabha is the great grandson of Krishna. That's his line, from Krishna to Pradumna to Aniruddha to Brajranabha. So this is the line that Brajranabha is in. Most powerful personality. When Parikshit left this world after the snake bite, then Janmejaya, he took over the kingship or the empire in Hastinapur. And at that time, Brajranabha was a generation younger than Janmejaya, but he was given the kingship of all of Mathura. And it's described that Brajranabha was inspired within his heart by Krishna directly to manifest all the deities of Braj. So many of these deities that we've been talking about, Govinda Dev, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, Gopal, so many deities were actually originally manifested by Brajranabha. And Brajranabha also came to this very place where we are now at Uddhava-kunda. And he manifested this kund in memory of Uddhava's pastimes here. Because as we stand here in Uddhava-kunda, we can see today, because there's no obstruction by Giriraj, but on the other side of Giriraj, there's Kusuma-sarovara, just a very short distance, and we can see the spires of Kusuma-sarovara from where we're standing. We can see how skinny this area of Giriraj has become. So the pastime principally about Uddhava is in Kusuma-sarovara, but it flows across and it touches this very kund where we are today. So we're remembering the very beautiful personality of Uddhava, how he was so instrumental in pacifying the gopis, and Nanda Baba and Mother Yashoda was inconsolable. But Uddhava, he stayed for about 2 months in Vrindavan. And my Gurudev describes when he first comes into Vrindavan, into Nandagaon, in fact, then he spends that whole first night with Nanda Baba, and Nanda Baba, of course, welcomes him with all honor, etc. And there's a very beautiful exchange there. But Uddhav begins to tell Nanda Baba that, don't you know that your son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And Nanda Baba, he just becomes bewildered by this kind of Aishwarya presentation. Nanda Baba can hardly say the name of Krishna without choking up in lamentation. And here is this young man who's proclaiming that his son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Nanda Baba, he just becomes silent, and they discuss all night. But in the morning time, it's described that Uddhav, he goes to Krishna-kunda and he bathes, and he looks across in the distance and he sees this beautiful forest of Kadamba trees. And within the forest, he sees an illumination. And the illumination is the effulgence of the gopis that are there. The gopis haven't ever left that place where they saw the final dust of Krishna's on the chariot of Akrura disappear. They remain there at Uddhav-Kyari. So we're going to hear that pastime quite soon when we go to Nandagan. But today we're celebrating this particular personality of Uddhav, because the principal focus, when Uddhav returns to Dwarka, this is what Krishna wanted. He wanted Uddhav to return to Dwarka and tell the Dwarkavasis or the Mathuravasis, because when he leaves Mathura, then there's another battle with Jarasandha, and Krishna transfers all the residents of Mathura to Dwarka. And then when Uddhav, he doesn't return to Dwarka, he doesn't return to Mathura, rather, he returns to Dwarka then, to stay in the city that is manifested by Vishwakarma in Dwarka. So these are his movements, basically. But when he's in Braj, he interacts extensively with the gopis, which is what we'll hear at Uddhav-Kyari, and he pacifies them to some degree. There's beautiful pastimes there, which we'll discuss quite soon. But at this place, we're just remembering the character and the personality of this extraordinary, wonderful person. Yet he could never come in to that mood, that world of Madhurya, because he is, his staibhav is fixed as a Jnani Bhakta. And ultimately, he's in Shantaras, because when he's leaving Braj, finally, he says this very beautiful prayer, Asamhaho charanarenu jusam aham shyam, Vrindavane kim api gulma lato sadinam, ya dustyajam swajanam arya patam cha hitva, bejur makunda padavim shrutabir vimrijyam. He says this beautiful verse in front of the Brijvasis before he leaves. And this means, oh, how wonderful is the character of the Braja Devis. He's astonished by their nishta, by their attraction, by their total dedication and devotion, more than anything, to Krishna. Uddhav is thinking that he himself is so much devoted to Krishna. But then when he witnesses the unparalleled excellence of the gopis' love for Krishna, then he is dwarfed in a mood of total submission and astonishment towards the gopis. So this is all Krishna's arrangement, that he always wants to demonstrate the speciality and the height of the gopis' devotion, because this is our anugatya all the way through the Bhagavatam. The principal focus ultimately is the devotion. Ramya kachit upasana braja baduru vargena vakalpite. These are the highest personalities who worship Krishna. The most exalted personalities are the gopis. So this verse is saying, how wonderful is the character of the Braja Devis. They have given up everything that is difficult to renounce, such as children, family, and the path of chastity. They have taken shelter of the path of prema bhakti to Sri Krishna, that is sought after by the Shrutis, My prayer is that I may appear as a bush, a creeper, or even a blade of grass in Sri Vrindavan, and thus receive the foot dust of the gopis' lotus feet. So Uddhav it's described as Shantaras. He takes the form of a bush in Vrindavan, and we can see these bushes directly just behind this kund of Uddhava-kunda, where we are, just behind, across towards Kusuma-sarovara. So there is the grass and bushes that is celebrated today as being non-different to Uddhava. And there's a very, very beautiful pastime that takes place there, that the queens of Dwarka, after the departure of Krishna, now there are different descriptions of the queens and their departure after Krishna leaves this world. There's one pastime described that Arjuna is escorting them across to Hastinapur after that fratricidal war at Prabhash, and all the husbands, all the males, the Yadavs, have been killed. And Arjuna is escorting them. And a band of robbers, it's described, comes and attacks that party and kidnaps all of the queens. And it's described that actually this band of dacoits or robbers is none other than Sri Krishna himself. So this is one pastime. But in this particular description that we're describing today, which is described in many, many places, the queens of Dwarka are still here when Vraja-mandala is the king of Mathura. As I described, Vraja-mandala becomes the king of Mathura. He's a great saintly king, and he's honored greatly in the area. And he's establishing all the different pastime places of Krishna for posterity under the guidance of the great rishis like Sandilya Rishi. All these personalities, they're confirming the different pastime places of Krishna. And it's described now that the queens, they come to Govardhan, and they're greatly lamenting and feeling separation from Krishna. And Vraja-mandala, he's escorting them. And they see the river Jamuna Devi. And at this point, Jamuna Devi has the identity of one of the queens of Dwarka called Kalindi. And she's dancing very happily. And the queens are curious. So why are you so happy when Krishna has departed? And she's saying that Krishna hasn't departed. Krishna is always here present in Braj. He's always here. Parityanaya, Vrindavanam parityaja, mam ekam nagachati. That Krishna never puts a foot outside of Vrindavan. So Kalindi is celebrating this fact that Krishna is in Vrindavan. So then Vraja-mandala, under the direction of Narad Muni, because Vraja-mandala, he asks Narad Muni, how can we understand that Krishna is still present? So Narad Muni directs, you should come to this place and have kirtan, have tremendous sankirtan at this place of Kusuma-sarovara. So all the queens and Vraja-mandala, they begin to engage in this Maha Sankirtan. And that kirtan becomes so ecstatic that from that kirtan, then all the saintly persons begin to manifest who were in Braj previously. And all the Pandavas, Arjuna, Yudhisthira, etc., they all manifest their forms too. Because the Pandavas, as we're going to hear later on today, are still residing on the banks of Radha-kunda, getting darshan of Radha-kunda. Actually, they're on the banks of Shama-kunda. They're honoring Krishna there in Radha-kunda area today. But all these other persons, and then suddenly Uddhava himself manifests as a spurti in front of all the queens and Vraja-mandala, and they all see Uddhava. And it's described how Uddhava, he is able once again to pacify the queens of Dwarka, as he pacified to some degree the gopis of Vrindavan. When Uddhava was giving his messages to the gopis 5,000 years ago, he tells them at one point, just close your eyes. This is one of his messages. Coming from Krishna, he said, just close your eyes, just for a moment. So the gopis all just close their eyes. Then Uddhava says, now just remember the Rasa Lila pastime. And it's described that time becomes compressed. And within a moment, the gopis experience the entire Rasa Lila pastime within practically a moment of this present time. But they experience it as a whole night of Lord Brahma. So that is the meditation that Krishna carries them into through the medium of Uddhava. Then Uddhava just says after a moment, open your eyes. And then the gopis are quite satisfied because they feel that they've just engaged with Krishna fully during the Rasa Lila pastime. So similarly, when Uddhava meets the queens of Dwarka here in Kusuma-sarovara, which is just behind where we're sitting now, then he is also able to pacify the queens. And it's described that after that pacification of the queens, then the queens, they give up those bodies and then again they return to their spiritual identities. But we understand that these queens are in fact none other than the gopis, because when we read in Lalita Madhav, all of the gopis, they take their forms amongst the Dwarkavasis. They all, Satyabhama is Sri Radhika, and Rukmini is Chandravali, Saiba, Padma, all these personalities, they're all there in Dwarka. So it's a whole replica, in fact, of Vrindavan manifesting in Dwarka. And Uddhava, he's witnessing all these moods. So this is astonishing, this particular character that we're describing today, the beauty and speciality of Uddhava, an exceptional, extraordinary, beautiful, sweet personality. Oh, what's this? Yes, this is the Uddhava-kunda where we are sitting now. Very beautiful kund. So this is manifested, this kund, by Brajanava in celebration of this personality, Uddhava, who is practically the only person who is able to come into Braj, even though he's carrying this Aishwarya Staibhav. He can't change his mood. It's not possible. It's fixed, like in stone. To the stai means fixed. So it's totally fixed in a mood of glorification and honor of Krishna being the supreme personality of Godhead. That's who he is. So he brings that into Braj. And nobody else has brought this mood into Braj. Nobody else has been permitted to come into Braj like this and spend time with the gopis in particular. My Gurudev would always describe regularly that when Uddhava is looking up at the height of the gopis' prem, because it's astonishing that pastime in Uddhava-kari, which we'll discuss, which really brings out the prem of the gopis in its highest estimation of Madanakya Mahabhav is actually manifested, or Mohanakya Mahabhav, the mood of separation. Then my Gurudev describes that if Uddhava was wearing a hat, his hat would drop off the back of his head in astonishment, looking up at the high, high mountain of the gopis' prem. So Uddhava was thinking that he had so much prem. But actually, when he witnesses the gopis' prem, then he becomes utterly, utterly astonished. And with that astonishment, he's able to go back to Dwarka and tell the Dwarkavasis about the degree of the gopis' prem. Because the Dwarkavasis are also thinking, oh, we have so much attraction for Krishna. They are thinking like that. But then Uddhava, he dispels that and gives the example, shows the height of the gopis' prem. It's also described just before he leaves this beautiful verse, Vande Nanda Brajashrinam Padarenam Abhikshanaha Yasham Harikatot Gitam Puna Tribhuvana Trayam. This is saying, I bow down to the dust of the feet of the gopis who reside in Nanda Baba's Braja. Oh, whatever these gopis have sung about Krishna's pastimes always has and always will purify the entire world. So these are some of the prayers that Uddhav recites when he goes back to Dwarka. But he says these prayers as he's leaving Vrindavan. So this very, very beautiful pastime, sacred place, very exceptional place filled with moods and sweetness and speciality of this remarkable personality, Uddhav, who is such a close bosom friend of Sri Krishna's, in Dwarka in particular, totally trusted messenger, etc. So this is the character and nature of this person that we're going to remember here at Uddhava-kunda today, before we reach this most highest zenith of all holy places in the entire universe of Radha-kunda. We're going to walk from here now to Radha-kunda, which is a very short distance away, perhaps 3/4 of a mile. And there we will hear the exceptional glories of Sri Radha-kunda by our dear Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj. So, Uddhava-kunda ki jai. Gold Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Bol. Thank you so much, Maharaj. That was ecstatic. Always, his pastimes are so beautiful. Just make you feel like, just takes you away from all kind of material focus. It just makes me think of my Gurudev. I remember when I was really, really new, I started reading my Gurudev's Brahma Gita because I just got hold of it. And it was all, before I'd opened it, I had no idea who Uddhava was. I had really very little idea of who the gopis were. I don't think I really knew who Nanda Maharaj was. But I was just reading it and just really not understanding very much, but being overwhelmed by how amazing it all was, how amazing the love and the devotion was, and this mood of separation. So just hearing this reminds me of my Gurudev, and yeah, it's beautiful.
Very nice.
We're going to usurp Yashoda to favor Jiva Pavan Prabhu to ask his question first.
Maharaj, I have a question, and the motive is really to elicit you to expand a little bit more on some of the rasa tattva of the Lila. How is it that the Pandavas, whose relationship is very much an Aishwarya and are outside of Raj, are residing as trees on the banks of Shyamakunda, Radha-kunda, and how do we reconcile that in the face of what you were just saying about Uddhava practically being the only one that was actually in that mood, allowed to enter into Braj, etc. Although we also hear that Lakshmi is somewhere in Vrindavan trying to enter the rasa a little, but I was wondering if you would expand on how devotees who are not in the mood of Braj find themselves in Braj and aspiring for.
Because they have heard, Jiva Prabhu, they have heard from personalities, even like Uddhav, they have heard of the glories of the Gopis' prem. They've heard of the glories of the Brijvasis' prem. It's their desire to come closer to Krishna. This is after Krishna has departed. They somehow understand that if they can take some type of residence, even in the form of trees on the banks, for example, of Shyamakunda, and perform meditation on Brajendranandan, Shyam Sundara, that this will be the highest joy and bliss they could possibly experience. They have so much affection for Krishna, Yudhisthira, Arjuna, etc., Bhimsen, all of these personalities, Nakul, Sahadev, they have so much affection and attraction in Sakya Ras. Yes, it's true, in Sakya Ras. And their prem is described as prem, para prem. It's the prem before prem artur, which is described as the prem of Uddhav. There's 5 gradations we know, from Prahlad and Barish, Hanuman, then the Pandavas, then Uddhav. This prem artur is Uddhav. So the prem of the Pandavas is prem para. This is the description of their prem. But they have a desire to witness the astonishing specialities, particularly of Radha-kunda. They know, they have heard, just like Queen Kunti, like all the residents of Mathura, all residents of Dwarka, they hear of the glories and speciality of Krishna, but they are restricted by their own staibhavs in actually melting with that Madhurya ras fully. They can't change their ras, so to speak. They can't enter Vrindavan proper, but as trees, in a passive way, Jiva Prabhu, in a passive way, they're able to appreciate and at least honor the dust of Vrindavan. They're demonstrating their great honor for Krishna's pastimes as Brajendra Nandan Shyam Sundar. So this is how I would answer that question, that they're really demonstrating their extreme regard and honor, etc., for Krishna in his most confidential pastime, even though they can't enter there. But after he's gone, they can reside there, meditating on the pastimes as trees. And Uddhav is meditating as a bush, as a in Shantaras at Kusuma-sarovara. So it is interesting to consider this, that they've taken those forms. Nice question, Jiva Prabhu. I hope that gives
beautiful answer, Maharaj.
Some insight. Yeah. It's really an ongoing meditation, isn't it, when we actually consider all these facts that we've heard over the years and start piecing everything together to appreciate the magnitude and speciality and exception of these Vrindavan pastimes. Nothing like anywhere else at all. So they've heard about them. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, Tarunji.
Yashoda, did you have any questions?
Yeah, Maharaj, thank you. Beautiful Qatar. Another reconciliation question. So we're taught that our aspiration is Rupa Nuga. So we're begging for that sidelong glance.
We are Rupa Nuga already. It's not our aspiration. We are following already.
We are, yeah. So we're begging for that seva from Rupa Manjari. So how, if Uddhava is in Shantaras,
yes,
how do we then, how does meditating on Uddhava benefit us?
Because we remember Uddhav's interaction with the gopis, in particular at Brahmara Gita, the pastime that Tarun was just talking about, that I deliberately haven't touched on at all, which I'm very eager and anxious to actually open right out. But I want to save it until we get to Uddhava-kunda, where it actually takes place. Today, I just wanted to describe something, lay some foundation of the personality of Uddhava. That was my intention. But when we actually come to Brahmara Gita pastime in Uddhava-kunda, then the Divyanmad, the Chitra Jalpa, the 10 degrees of increasing madness in their separation moods is what is manifested, particularly by Rupa Goswami. As you're speaking now, it's Rupa Goswami who gives the clear definition of these moods that Radhika responds to Uddhav in Nandagan when we go there very shortly. But it is Rupa Goswami. It's nice that you just even bring his name into the conversation, because without the essential key of Rupa Goswami and his teachings, we cannot even begin to contemplate. We can't even go in the route of Uddhav to know what is his internal moods, etc. But we are getting this. But Uddhav, what are the moods he gets? It's always reserved with the obstruction. We say obstruction of Aishwarya. For him, it's not an obstruction. For him, it's the most joyful, blissful state of consciousness conceivable. He's not wanting, you can't, it's like Mother Yashoda. She doesn't want to be, in Madhurya Ras with Krishna. She's utterly satisfied with her Vatsalya Prem. And the Sakas also the same. They don't want something beyond their adhikar. They're completely self-satisfied. So similarly, Uddhava is 100 million% self-satisfied in his particular ras, but nevertheless, he's still in astonishment and wants to serve that ras in some sense.
The relevance for us is that is his glorification of the gopis, and thus then we can connect more with that mood of the gopis. That's
yes. This is what Uddhava is giving us.
So how can Uddhava? How is it that Uddhava is in Shantaras, even though he's made that prayer that he wants to be a bush or a blade of grass? He's actually actively serving Krishna in this pastime, which is not a symptom of Shantaras. So isn't it possible that he's exhibiting Shantaras but being in Dasyaras at the same time?
He's performing many acts in a mood of Dasyaras, but his staibhav, his fixed swarup of his Siddhadaya, will be in Shantaras. But nevertheless, he is still like in Dwarka, right at the very end in the Masala Lila, when Krishna is leaving, just before he leaves, the whole 11th canto is made up of questions by Uddhava to Krishna. He's asking him about deity worship, about bhakti, about gyan, about so many different topics. He talks about Krishna responds about the 24 gurus, etc. in the 11th canto. Krishna is talking very intimately to Uddhava at this time. And Uddhava at that time is demonstrating a mood of dasya mood. But nevertheless, his staibhav is still ultimately in Shantaras. I don't understand this to its, complete conclusion. And I questioned Gurudev about it one time. I said to Guru,
the other way around, Maharaj, like you can be in Dasyaras and exhibit Shantaras, but not be in Shantaras and exhibit Dasyaras. I think Achyuta's got an answer, maybe. He's waving. You want to unmute Achyutananda, Tara?
Hello?
Achyutananda.
Hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
I can hear you.
Can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Goloka above Dwarka. So a bush in Goloka, Vraja, is worth a prime minister in Dwarka.
He is the prime minister in Dwarka. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there's no Shantaras in Goloka.
This comes from Sridhar Maharaj when he calls about concentration of rasa. Is only the highest concentration of rasa is in Goloka. Just like Lakshmi Sahasra, there are no Lakshmis in Goloka, but one gopi is worth Sahasra, thousands of Lakshmis.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Count them, but they're concentrated. They generate gopi will generate 10,000 Lakshmis in Vaikuntha. Nice. In the Vaikuntha. Also, Narayan Maharaj has said, Sridhar Maharaj said, I asked him, what is Prabhupada's rasa? He said, it must be Madhurya because of his attraction to Kirtan. And now, to what you said, that there was a Kirtan that made all the personalities manifest. Similarly, Narayan Maharaj said, those who are attracted to Lord Chaitanya's Kirtan movement pretty much are in Madhurya rasa. The desire to spread this. Yasho da. Yasho means fame, and Kirti da. They're almost the same name, but to want to spread. We got to tell this to people. That desire to tell people is an audarya aspect of Madhurya.
Mahaprabhu, yes.
Signing off.
Can you conclude from that there's no Shantaras, no Shantaras in Goloka, essentially, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's serving.
Yes.
And even Mukunda, my other Shiksha guru of modern times, Mukunda Das also said that really even Dasya, the servants are really Nanda Maharaj's servants. And they have a sneha, this affection to Krishna. But everyone else is really from Saka up. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tarunji, I think we're running a little over schedule here.
Yes, I will hand over to Pujapadnami Maharaj. Although I sent you a message about this, Maharaj. So that's Tridandi Maharaj, not Nami Maharaj. I'm addressing about time today. And
Okay.
let me know what you think. Before you start, Maharaj, I have some pictures. We have some pictures. So do you want me to share them now, all at the start, or?
Yeah, it's great. Otherwise I'll forget.
Okay.
I just absorb in speaking.
So we have Shamakund.
Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das Goswami. Yes.
Raghunath Das Bhajan Kuti must be.
Yes.
It's a junction between Radha-kunda and Shamakund. This is Radha-kunda. Shri Gurudev ki jai. Jai, jai, jai. Wow.
Wow, it's amazing. An amazing picture. Oh, I think that's Kamala and Sita.
Yeah, everyone's looking for themselves in the picture.
Well, I certainly am not in this picture.
Oh, I think that's awesome.
This is the Sangam between the two kunds, yes. Right in the middle there.
Oh.
And then, okay, we've gone too far then. Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you for those beautiful pictures. Sridhani Maharaj, thank you so much for your Harikatha. Beautiful. I'd like to suggest actually that Uddhavji is in Dasiras with a slight touch of friendship. Because actually Shantaras can't mix with anything else. Madhurya-ras also can't mix with anything else. So he couldn't be in Shantaras and Dasiras.
But he's described as being a Shanta Bhakta, like Prahlad is a Shanta Bhakta also. This is how Gurudev has described it. But we can discuss, but I agree with what you're saying. It's interesting.
When he's coming as a bush, the reason that he's a bush is that he wants one particle of dust from Srimati Radhika's lotus feet on his head. And that's why he's there.
But he's not asking for a birth as a gopi.
No.
That's
he doesn't pray for that.
He can't. He doesn't have the adhikar. Yeah. Go ahead, Maharaj. Give us Radha-kunda.
Agyanti mirandhasya yananjana shlakayam chaksharan malitang yena tasmai shri guruve namaha. Nama om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Saminiti Namane. Nama om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namane. Nama om Vishnupadaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Vigyanam Bharati Iti Namane. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhabhyaivacha putitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Of my humble obeisances, lotus feet, my beloved Diksha Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. My beloved Shiks and Sannyas Guru, Rupa Nugavara Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, our Gurudev. To my beloved Shiksha Guru, Shri Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Maharaj. All our Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, offer my humble obeisances to all devotees present, headed by my senior god brothers Achutananda Prabhuji and Mahabudhi Prabhu, Budhara Prabhu if he's here, and many others, and our Chidandigan headed by Pujapad Shri Chaitanya Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Today's moody day. It's Dipavali. Our Gurudev, before he met with Narottam Prabhu, he was Ram Bhakta. And it's said that when he gave Harikatha, especially Ram Nomi, you couldn't tell he's Krishna Bhakta or Ram Bhakta. So Dipavali is the lamp ceremony. Shri Ramachandra has been away from Ayodhya for 14 years. Bharat is there, sleeping on the ground, eating barley soaked in cow's urine, and consulting with Shri Ramachandra's sandals on the throne. So much humility, so much dedication. And he's warned Ramachandra that if you come back, you said you'll be away for only 14 years. If you come back one day later, you'll find me dead. Ramachandra sends Hanuman to warn. He finds Bharat Maharaj, and he sends Hanuman to tell him that Ram's coming, and he wants to check Bharat's mood. Is Bharat really going to be glad, or is he going to be sorry that, oh, now the king's come back, I've got to give up my position? And Bharat is so ecstatic to hear that Ramachandra is actually coming back. So they arrange lights everywhere, 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 everywhere. Lamps, 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 lamps. And so just like when you come in on an airplane, so you've got the guiding lights. So the citizens of Ayodhya, they're lighting the lamps in their hearts to attract Shri Ramachandra, Sitaram, back to their hearts. It's like, so we can light lamps in our hearts. It's been more than 14 years since he made the choice to come here to the material world. So Dipavali is Tamasima Jyotir Gama. Don't be in darkness, come to the light. So this festival of lights, very, 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 very potent, very pungent. And then, so evening Dipavali, when we were with Gurudev in Sri Govardhan, so we gathered at Manasa Ganga, all devotees there, hundreds and hundreds of devotees and thousands of Brajbasis, all offering the lamps of their hearts to Manasa Ganga and Brajbasis, Kirtan, transporting us beyond our ordinary material lives. So today we're going to Shri Radha-kunda, and we're so fortunate even to hear the name Radha-kunda. We're so fortunate actually that we're coming in line, our line from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Satchidananda Gaurahari, through our Goswamis and through their successors, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Saraswati Prabhupada, Thakur Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Prabhupada, like this, and then to our Prabhupada. And Srila Gurudev has opened the treasure chest that Srila Prabhupada brought with him to the West. Coming in with Gurudev, we'd come in, there's one tree, and I've forgotten the name of the place, it's just before Radha-kunda. Gurudev would narrate that a jackal once was attacked by dogs here, and then all the locals were amazed that this jackal took a four-armed form and went to the spiritual world. So Srila Gurudev would, I don't know, warn us, but he would just he just informed us that this is such a special place. We can't imagine how special it is. So especially, don't give way to material thoughts here. Especially don't criticize anybody. And we perform Radha-kunda parikrama with kirtan and harikatha in the different places. So many places here. So many, of course, since this is the most sacred place in the universe, so many great souls, so many great Vaishnavas have gathered here to worship Radha Krishna in their various moods. Some background. How did Radha-kunda, Shyamakunda appear? So there, Aristasura came to Braj to kill Krishna. Gigantic bull, so ferocious. He got he got clouds off his horns and his tail like a mountain. And so ferocious that the pregnant women were having miscarriages. So he came in and challenged Krishna, and Krishna ended up throwing him around like a wet rag, and he died passing stool and urine. Death to the demons. And at that time, just as Krishna killed him, Srimati Radhika was there actually. She called Hari, Hari. She was in ecstasy also. So that evening, Krishna wanted to associate with the gopis. He was ready, wanted to embrace Srimati Radhika. He said, no. You've killed a cow. I haven't killed a cow. Yes, you killed a cow. Aristasura, you killed? He's not a cow, he's a demon. No, he's in the form of a cow, so you have to purify yourself. It's a grievous sin. You have to purify yourself. How can I purify myself? You have to take bath in all the sacred waters in the universe. So Krishna, being the mystic that he is, he called all the sacred waters, called all the sacred places, and they all came. And then with his heel, he dug a place, kund, and they all poured the water into the kund and came up to the brim. And Krishna took bath in the water. All the gopis are watching. Then he comes out, dries himself, dresses. He says, now you can all take bath. Radha said, no, you contaminated the waters. I'm not going to take bath in that. We'll make our own. So then she and the gopis, with their bangles, they excavated their own kund. No water. So then they decide, okay, we'll go to Manasa Ganga with pots. Now it's a long way. And the holy places, they became very distraught. And they came to Krishna and begged him, please, you get Radha to allow us to serve her. So Krishna comes, and with funny words and funny faces, he beseeches Radha that let the holy waters fill your kund, please. And so they pour them in, and then they make a hole, a gap between the two kunds, so that the two kunds can mix. And then, so there's around Radha-kunda, there are special kunjas. Each of the Astasakis got their own kunjas, and each with their own specific specialities. And then in the middle, there's Sananda Sukata Kunj, which is the place of Ananga Manjari, that very, very mystical and mysterious personality. So she has a lotus in the form of a lotus petal right in the middle of Radha-kunda. And there's a causeway made of moonstones to that place. And there she serves Radha Krishna in her own special way. And then Srimati Radhika herself, she takes bath in one place in the northwest corner of Shyamakunda. So she wants to take bath. She doesn't want to take bath in her own kund. She takes bath in Shamakund. And then around Shamakund, there are kunjas of each of the the 4 cowherd boys, and they've donated their kunjas to Ashtasakis also. And so many beautiful pastimes during the Ashtakali Lila. There's double the time spent here, double the time spent for the night pastimes and double the time spent for the midday pastimes with Radha and Krishna at Radha-kunda. This is a very, very, very special place of Srimati Radhika. Nobody else can go there. Nobody to disturb the mood. Mother Yashoda will not go there. Chandravali and others, they will not go there. So Radha and Krishna, they can perform their pastimes there, uninterrupted, undisturbed. And when they come there, Vrinda Devi has already arranged with the forest Devis that Radha and Krishna, they can perform something like a lightning tour of all the 6 seasons in the forest. They'll swing in the, what's that, the drizzly season, not rain season. And then the goddess of summer goes into Radha-kunda. So the waters are warm, and then Radha and Krishna, they can play in that kund. Playing, sometimes splashing. Krishna's so rough. You know, boys are rough. And he splashes water in Radha's eyes, and she becomes really irritated. And then Brinda says, oh, this is too rough. This play is too rough. Let's make some music. So they're making music in the water with their hands. However it sounds. And after that, they come out, and the manjas are waiting with towels and beautiful dry clothes and ornaments. And then there's other pastimes, gambling pastimes. And then honey wine pastimes also. The attendants, they bring on honey wine, and the gopis, they take the honey wine and they become divinely intoxicated. And Krishna appears to take, but actually he abstains more or less. And then there's beautiful pastimes with the honey wine. So this is a very special time of the day. Daytime pastimes, undisturbed, manifesting Radha and Krishna together, manifesting all their ecstatic decorations, and their associates absorbed, enchanted by these, like, well, firework display, almost like it's transcendental firework display. Radha and Krishna, Srimati Radhika displaying all her transcendental emotions, and Krishna in amazement displaying his transcendental emotions, and then she's in amazement from his, and like this, it goes up and up and up and up. This beautiful place. After the Krishna's Prakat Lila closed, so after some time, these kunds disappeared. 4,500 years later, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Radha-kunda, and he came to Braj, and he was eager to find Radha-kunda, Shamakunda. So he asked the locals, nobody knew. They said there's Gauri-Kate and Kali-Kate. That's all we know. And it's in a place called Aritgaon. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew, oh, Aritgaon means Aristasura. That's where Aristasura was killed. And Gauri-Kate means, Gauri is golden. So Gauri-Kate is Radha's place. And Kali-Kate, Kali means blackish. So Kali-Kate is Krishna's place. So he understood that here, this is Radha-kunda, Shamakunda. They were just 2 places in the rice fields. And he bathed in ecstasy in these places. So after, then he returned to Puri. And Raghunath Das Goswami came and lived with him for 15 years. And then later on, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left and Sarabdamada Goswami left, so Raghunath Das Goswami came to Braj. Actually, he wanted to end his life by drowning in Jamuna or jumping from Giriraj Govardhan, we've heard. But meeting with Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they accepted him as their younger brother, and they gave him the engagement that you glorify Lord Chaitanya every day. Because Raghunath Das Goswami, he not only been with Lord Chaitanya, but he'd been living under the protection of Sarabdamada Goswami, most intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya. So he'd heard from all the moods, all the pastimes, he heard from Sarabdamada Goswami. And absorbed in those moods, he was giving Harikatha, and then Sanatana Goswami told him that you can take up residence at Radha-kunda. You can make your residence there. So Raghunath Das Goswami is deeply absorbed in separation. He went to perform bhajan at Radha-kunda. And his moods, especially, he's described in Shiva Kusuma-sarovara. And our Gurudev kindly gave his commentary many years ago, like 20. Heavens to Betsy, it's 30 years ago now. Explaining to the senior ISKCON people who came to him. So in Vilap Kusmanjali, he's expressed his desire to serve Radha and Krishna, and especially to serve Srimati Radhika. Deep, deep separation from service. And most of the verses are written in his mood as divine maidservant to Srimati Radhika. One time, we went to Radha-kunda. Srila Gurudev was still with us, but he didn't go with us to Radha-kunda. So we went to Radha-kunda, and when we came back in the evening Harikatha, Srila Gurudev said, so we have been to Radha-kunda. And then he quoted 3 verses. Tavaivasmi, Tavaivasmi, Vajivami Tvayavina, Iti Vigyaya Rateta, Naimang Charanantike. That I'm yours. This is Raghunath Das Goswami in mood as Tulsi Manjari. Oh Radhe, I'm yours, I'm yours. I can't live without you. So knowing this, Nayamang Charanantike, you should bring me just to the tips of your toes, the tips of your lotus feet. So Srimati Radhika can say, all right, obviously you have a very strong desire. So you'd like to be my friend? No. Padabjeus tava vinavaradhasineva. Nanyat kadapi samaika deviyache. I will never ask for anything more than service to your lotus feet. Sakyayate mama namosta namosta nicham. I'm offering my obeisances to this idea of becoming your friend. I'm offering my obeisances to your friends like Lalita, Vishaka, and all Astasakis and all other friends. But I don't want that. Sakyayate dasyayate mama rasosta rasosta sakya. I want that my eternal mood will just be as a maidservant to you. I just want to serve you. Deep desire. So Srimati Radhika can say, okay, so what kind of service you'd like? Would you like to clean my bangles sometimes, or wash the dishes after we have prasad with Krishna? How would you like to serve? Shiru Pamanjari Karaj Tapada Kostenda Nandana Bajar Patamastikaya Hamo Dita Kanaka Gora Badara Vinda Samvahanami sanakaistavatim karishye. No, I don't want that. What I want is that when you're with your beloved Krishna and you've been performing your beautiful amorous pastimes and now you're resting, Shri Rupa Manjari, your very, very intimate attendant and maidservant, she's massaging your beautiful lotus feet. You're lying with your head on Krishna's arms, on his lap, and Shri Rupa Manjari is there with the two of you, massaging your lotus feet. And she'll signal with her eyes, she won't say anything. She'll signal with her eyes to me that you can come and you can take over the service. You can massage Shri Radha's lotus feet. So praying for that very close service when Radha and Krishna are together in such a delightful mood and serving them in a very, very sweet and friendly way, intimate way. So those three verses, Srila Gurudev said, these are the articles of Sakhi Bhav. These are they define Sakhi Bhav. Actually, he told that without reading this Vilap Kusmanjali, it would be very difficult or maybe not possible to enter into Raganuga Bhakti. So Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is a very, very prominent personality in Radha-kunda. One occasion, he was meditating. Oh, so Srila Gurudev has explained that. Like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das Goswami also, he has three states: Antardasha, Bahirdasha, and Antarbahirdasha. So Antardasha means he's totally, totally absorbed in his internal moods. And Bahirdasha means he's in external mood, in deep separation and writing his verses. And then Antarbahirdasha, so when he's deeply absorbed in Antardasha, means in his internal mood, forgotten Raghunath Das Goswami, forgotten Radha-kunda, simply Tulsi Manjari with Radha and Krishna. And then by Yoga Maya, that breaks. And he's in bewilderment. Wow, where's Radha? Where's my service? Like this, and rolling, Gurudev says, rolling on the banks of Radha-kunda and crying and crying. So this is Antarbahirdasha. So one occasion is in his external mood. If we could get our internal mood to be like his external mood, we would be so fortunate. Srila Gurudev said, in some lifetime, you will have to perform bhajan like Raghunath Das Goswami. So he's on the banks, and then he thought, oh, it would be nice to excavate Radha-kunda, Shyamakunda. And then he thought, that's ridiculous. They're eternal, no need. But just at that time, one rich person came. He'd been in Badrika Ashram, and he'd had an instruction from Sri Narayan that you go to Radha-kunda and you'll find one Baba, Raghunath Das Goswami, and you help him to excavate Radha-kunda, Shyamakunda. So that's what they did. Raghunath Das Goswami understood, oh, this is a desire of Radha-kunda, Shyamakunda. So they excavated it. Then that question about the trees, there were some trees near to Shyamakunda, and to dig out Shyamakunda, they were going to cut down the trees. But at night, the Pandavas came and said, please don't cut down those trees. We're here, we're performing sadhana bhajan. So, that question arises. So how the Pandavas, they never, even Arjun, who's the closest of the Pandavas to Krishna, he never came to Braj, what to speak of Radha-kunda. So how could they be here? But then how could we be there? How could we get to Radha-kunda? How could we, I've never lived there, but I know that Pujapad Tridandi Maharaj, he's lived there. So how could that happen? So anyway, in their mood, they know that this is a very sacred place. They know this is sacred to Krishna, and they're meditating in their moods. Just like anyone can come. So many people come to Radha-kunda, like Bahulashtami. Srila Gurudev never actually even emphasized Bahulashtami. He said all the materialists come. that time. So then they made Shyamakund somewhat crooked way. So Radha-kunda is square and Shyamakund is different shape. Like Krishna's crooked and Srimati Radhika is very simple. One time we were with our Gurudev in Navadip. It was just before Navadip parikrama. And he was giving his darshan to the Western devotees. So he was on one veranda, and right on the next veranda, Pujapad Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Maharaj was sitting by himself. So he looked over and he said, "Do not listen to him. He's very crooked." And Srila Gurudev said, "No." He said, "Narayan's very simple. Trivikram is crooked." So Trivikram is another name for Vamanadev. So Vamanadev, he cheated Bali Maharaj in a very, very beautiful way to get Bali Maharaj surrendered to him completely. Anyway, so Krishna is crooked and Srimati Radhika is also crooked, actually. So they dug. Actually, before that happened, Emperor Akbar came with his army, elephants, horses, men like that. And he asked Raghunath Das Goswami that, is there any place here where we can get water? Raghunath Das Goswami said, yes, there's this. And he pointed to Kalikate, Radha-kunda, Shyamakund. They were just little ponds at that time. And Emperor Akbar said, that's not enough for one elephant. Raghunath Das Goswami said, no, you try. So all his army, his whole army, all the elephants, horses, men, everyone, they're drinking. The water was not exhausted at all. It's a very mystical place. So many beautiful personalities also. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami was here. On one occasion, Sanatana Goswami came by and he saw Raghunath Das Goswami was in bhajan and two tigers walked right by him, drank at Radha-kunda, and then walked by him again as though they didn't even notice him. And on another occasion, Sanatana Goswami came by and he saw that Raghunath Das Goswami was performing bhajan, blazing sun, and Srimati Radhika herself had come, and she was holding her veil over Raghunath Das Goswami's head. So Sanatana Goswami says, so you have to have your bhajan kutti. And he helped Raghunath Das Goswami to make bhajan kutti there. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also came, another for us, very important, dear Vaishnava. He came to Braj in his old age, and he was given the task by the devotees to write Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Raghunath Das Goswami is one of the 8 manjaris, and actually one of the 4 chief manjaris, Srimati Radhika's 4 chief manjaris. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also, Kasturi Manjari, he's also one of the 4 chief manjaris. And his, there's 3 samadhis there, just close to that samadhi, the big samadhi of Raghunath Das Goswami. There's 3 samadhis there. Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, and Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Those are 3 of the 4 chief manjaris. And the other one is Rupa Manjari, Rupa Goswami. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami came and he was living next to Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, long time, and he heard everything from him. So Raghunath Das Goswami had heard from Srila Sarabdamada Goswami, he read his Kadacha, his notebook, and so he explained and narrated everything to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami put everything in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So they're really next door neighbors. Their bhajan kuti is right close to each other. And then Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, also Rasikacharya, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he also came and performed bhajan by Shyamakund. And then on the other side of Shamakund, there's used to be a tal tree there, like palm tree. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself came and he sat there in separation. So his sitting place is there. And there's a little altar where he sat. So many great personalities, Shri Jiva Goswami, Srinivasa Acharya, Bilva Mangal, Madhavendra Puripad, so many bhajan kutis there. So we're lucky that we could come here either with Srila Gurudev or under the guidance of Srila Gurudev's representatives and hear the glories and become a little absorbed in the moods of this place, Radha-kunda. It's the most blessed place, the most sacred place, the dearest place for Radha and Krishna. Krishna, on one occasion, he was on one side of Radha-kunda. Srimati Radhika was on the other side of Radha-kunda, and the breeze came and just touched her garment and then touched Krishna. And he felt himself to be so fortunate. So we're so fortunate that our Gurudev, who was given the title Yuga Acharya, so he's opened this amazing treasure chest to us. And it's up to us to continue to perform our sadhana bhajan and try to realize a little of what he's given us. Hare Krishna, Vanchakalpatarupasya Kripasin Devata Putitanam Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Very well. I want to share a picture that, where is it? No, it's not this one. Yes.
Oh, Jai Shri Gurudev. It's a beautiful picture.
So, Haribol, thank you so much, Maharaj, for sharing and telling so many of these pastimes and for emphasizing the importance of Radha-kunda, which still goes over my head, but I feel the more I hear it, the more it's slowly sinking in. And it's like Pujapad Tridandi Maharaj mentioned before, how we have to try and understand these pastimes and these places, not with our heads, with logic and reason, but with our heart. So I'm trying to do that, and all of this beautiful guitar is helping so much. So thank you. It's so beautiful. Thank you very, very much. Very well. Yashoda, do you have any questions?
No, that was absolutely beautiful, Maharaj. Just letting it sink in. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Ki Tridandi Maharaj, take over the charge.
So beautiful, Maharaj. Very beautiful.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for inviting me.
All these personalities that you're bringing out, Raghunath Das in particular, Krishnadas Kaviraj. I mean, I think what Tarunji was just saying, we see these pastimes through their eyes, correct? We are seeing Radha-kunda, hopefully, through their mercy and their instructions, like Srila Gurudev, always trying to hold tightly to their descriptions. Very, very beautiful. I didn't want you to stop, Maharaj. I was going to forfeit all the rest of my guitar for you today to carry on.
Actually, Maharaj, there was one quick question, because I tried to look up, we read Vilap Kusmanjali. I was very fortunate to read that with you. Those 3 verses, you don't happen to remember which ones they are, do you?
You're right. I don't happen to.
Oh.
But I can find out later.
They're in the Damodarastakam book in a line. Let me just see if I can quickly access it.
think one of them number 7.
Just let me see.
Tavaivasmi. Then Padajayus Tavavinavara Dasamevya. And Shri Rupa Manjari Karaj Pada Padma. I'll send you the references later.
Thanks, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Maharaj, it's all yours.
Okay, Tarunji. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Tarunji, do I just carry on?
Yes. Shall I share the pictures of Kusuma-sarovara now?
Yes, why not?
Okay, so.
Yes, Kusuma-sarovara, your backdrop.
Yes. Yeah. But I got a picture of it that's just the picture, not with all the apps on the front. So
that's
I actually took this picture. So this is not even such a great picture.
It is fantastic.
But there's even more beautiful. I think in the video there were some really beautiful shots. And there's also this one, which is an older picture.
Beautiful terrain.
Very well.
Okay. Gurave Gaura Chandrai Radhikai Tadavaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namaha. So we're continuing our parikrama today, our most special parikrama. And we've just bathed in Radha-kunda, then Shama-kunda, then again in Radha-kunda. This is generally how we perform our bathing. 3 times in Radha-kunda, 3 times in Shama-kunda, then back again 3 times in Radha-kunda. And now we're walking back to our Giridhari Gaudiya Math, and on our right, we come to Kusuma-sarovara, which is, we've just seen on the screen here. So this is an exceptionally beautiful place that was manifested in 1767 by Maharaj Singh of Bharatpur. It's described that he looted the treasury of Delhi and he used that money to build these beautiful ghats, etc. here. And he's the one responsible for actually building it. But in principle, this particular location, as I described in Uddhava-kunda, is where we have the temple here now of Uddhavji. And we celebrate the pastime of that Sankirtan pastime where Uddhav actually manifests. That takes place right here in Kusuma-sarovara. But more important than this is the place where Krishna, and sometimes he's with Madhu Mangal, when he leaves the sakas during the Pratar Lila. We understand there's 8 yamas, 8 pastime periods of the day, from Nishanta Lila, Pratar Lila, Purvana Lila, and then Madhyana Lila. So Madhyana Lila has 5 hours to it. The others have about 2.5 hours to it approximately. So when Krishna is in the Purvana Lila with the cowherd sakas grazing, then he, even though the cowherd boys, they love him so much, they'll give their entire existence, every breath of their body. And Krishna is reciprocating with them very beautifully. But when Krishna sees a lake, he thinks of the beautiful face of Sri Radhika. When he hears these swans making their warbling sounds, he's thinking, oh, these must be the ankle bells of Sri Radhika. Even though he's with these loving sakas, but yet his heart is always hankering to be with Sri Radhika. So he leaves the sakas every single day. Also, he's just left his mother and father. He's just left Vatsalya mood behind in the village of Braj. And now he's about to leave the sakas and come to Radha-kunda. So it's described that it appears that he's just gone behind a tree with Madhu Mangal. And it appears that it's only a moment in time, and all the sakhas, they practically stop everything and they just remain motionless. And 5 hours later, Krishna steps out from the other side of the tree, and the sakhas just think, oh, just a moment has passed, but actually 5 hours have passed. And during this time, Krishna wants to begin his Madhyana pastimes with Sri Radhika, all the different pastimes, as Nemi Maharaj was describing, that take place in Radha-kunda. Their gambling match, they're drinking honey mead, etc., stealing Krishna's flute. They're bathing in Radha-kunda. So many extraordinary, ecstatic pastimes. My Gurudev explains these are all part of the Ras Lila. It's not just the dancing arena that constitutes the Ras Lila. It's all these other pastimes. So to initiate these pastimes, Krishna, he comes first each day to Kusuma-sarovara, right here where we are now. And there's very, very sweet exchanges. Radhika and her Sakis are there picking the beautiful flowers, kusum. The lotus, kusum means like a lotus, the beautiful lotus-like flowers there. And they're picking the flowers, and Krishna boldly comes in and demands, why are they picking his flowers? He has been nominated as the gardener or the guardian of these flowers, and they have to, like in Dan-gati, pay him a tax, or they have to be arrested and taken to the court of Kandarpa, the Cupid god, king of the forest. So Krishna is joking with them in this way. There's a very beautiful exchange that Raghunath describes and Rupa Goswami describes in their beautiful narrations here. So this very jovial, very joking-like mood is established. And of course, Lalita is coming in a very strong pragalba mood of boldness, demanding that Krishna just be more respectful towards Sri Radhika and don't accuse her of being a thief, when actually Krishna, she turns to him and says, you are the thief. You come sometimes with your cows and your cowherd boys and you just knock over the flowers and knock over the trees. And how many flowers have you planted here? How many trees have you planted here? And Lalita says, our Vrinda Saki, our Vrinda Devi, she's planted all these trees. And of course, we know that Vrinda Devi manifests every single tree and bush and flower of Vrindavan. She knows all the bushes and all the flowering vines, etc. of Vrindavan. She has millions of parrots, and she sends all these parrots daily to check on every single shrub, every single flower, every single tree, to make sure that they're satisfied. And every single day, actually, Vrinda and Purnamasti in Vrinda-kunda, near Nandagan, they know where Krishna is going to go for the day. And the seasonal goddesses, they manifest at that time, and Vrinda directs them where they should go for the pastimes of the day. And she directs the spring season, for example, to come to Kusuma-sarovara, because she knows that Krishna is going to come here. So all the parrots, they race ahead and they tell all the trees and flowers, put on your best blossoms and your best dress, because Krishna is coming with all the Sakis here today. So everything is in preparation for the topmost pastimes being performed in Radha-kunda. So this is the prelude, and this takes place here in Kusuma-sarovara. And today we have this very incredible lake, which was described actually as being 26 elephants deep when we see this extraordinary lake in front of us today. It's a very beautiful place and satisfying for the eyes and consciousness to appreciate such beauty. We were discussing the other day in our Damodarastakam about the first angi of Krishna is beauty. So here, when we have darshan of this kund, it's we are satisfied, our consciousness is satisfied with the beauty. And the water is always looking clean and pure. And of course, many times the devotees, they take great happiness in bathing, sometimes boisterously in these waters of Kusuma-sarovara. But the particular pastime is the prelude to the Madhyana Lila. So this Madhyana Lila, as I've just described, takes place for 5.5 hours. In the Vraja pastimes, there are 8 yamas or 8 sections, and of these sections, practically half of the section is complete union, and the other half is separation, so that there are these 2 contrasting moods within the yamas of the day. If we look at a map of the yamas, the Nishanta Lila is a very intimate pastime. The Madhyana Lila is also intimate, and Ratri Lila is also most intimate. So this is the prelude, and they're joking, they're enjoying very much the rasa. So this is like an introduction to the highest states of consciousness that are about to ensue. It's very beautiful the way all of the engagements in their relationships are described, particularly by Srila Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das. They describe in particular the nature of their exchanges and how their hearts are softened in these joking pastimes between each other, the especial sweetness. And Madhu Mangal is there to assist. Yashoda's texting me, distracting me. Madhu Mangal is there to add to the joviality of the whole festive mood. So this is the moods of Kusuma-sarovara, very sweet, joyful, festive, beautiful, incredible pastime place, which we physically honor when we are almost finished our parikrama. So very often we bathe here in Kusuma-sarovara because the waters are always very cool. In Radha-kunda, it's a much more sobering mood because we're remembering with great honor the person. I mean, Radha-kunda herself is utterly 1,000,000% non-different to Sri Radhika. Radha-kunda is the embodiment of Sri Radhika, just as Shyama-kunda is the embodiment of Shyam-sundar. These are the personalities of these kunds. But here we have Kusuma-sarovara, which is a more relaxed place, in fact, than Radha-kunda and Shyama-kunda. And it's beautiful pastimes, and the flowers in particular that the gopis pick so happily here are all described. So this is basically, briefly, the pastime place of Kusuma-sarovara. And as I said, just behind here, we can enter into the temple directly of Uddhava. Uddhava is on the altar here of the temple. And the whole pastime that I described at Uddhava-kunda, of Uddhava manifesting as the grass, etc., is remembered here in this place. So this place is an extraordinary sacred place for meditation, and many Babas have lived there in the past and performed their meditation there. It's a very sweet, elevated pastime place to be in Braj. So now we've reached Kusuma-sarovara, and our time is running today, and we're going to come back into the township of Govardhan from here, and we're going to celebrate, as Nemi Maharaj described, this beautiful Dipavali festival tonight. All of India is celebrating this across India, and there's many reasons, as Nemi Maharaj was describing, celebrating the return of Ram from Ayodhya, and also, as I described yesterday, the manifestation of Ganga Devi herself is celebrated by the offering of lamps. So, and my Gurudev explains that the offering of lamp is, as Nemi Maharaj was explaining, to dissipate the darkness of ignorance simultaneously. So all of these rich descriptions of illumination and light and lamps and candles is very satisfying and peaceful for the consciousness that we can be in this atmosphere, remembering all of these pastimes, particularly today, the exceptional pastimes within the kund of Radha-kunda, because in the kund itself, Vrinda Devi, she directs the summer season. So the kund itself is always warm and designed for the comfort of their pastimes. And as our Nemi Maharaj was explaining, all around the kunds are different kunds belonging to the different Sakhis. And actually the Sakhas, they had their kunds there, but they donated them to the various gopis. And in the very center of Radha-kunda, there's Swananda Sukada Kunj. This is the special like island kunj of Ananga Manjari. She is right there in the very heart of Radha-kunda in the center. And we notice that right beside her place of Swananda Sukada Kunj, which is not manifested to the material vision now, but was actually in the center, is Janava Mata's sitting place. Janava Mata's Baitak is right there next to Ananga Manjari. Yes, we saw this place today. Yes, this is Janava Mata's Baitak. And then just to the left of the picture behind that tree, out in the kund, is Swananda Sukada Kunj. And if we come to the right of Janava Mata's Baitak, we come into the temple of Radha Gopinath. And on the temple altar in Radha Gopinath, again, we see Ananga Manjari. Do you remember when we were in the Gopinath temple in Vrindavan and we described how Krishna is on the altar there as Gopinath, and on Krishna's right-hand side, Srimati Radhika is there. And on Krishna's left side is Ananga Manjari, who manifested after Janava Mata left this world. It was actually the deity directly of Janava Mata. So here is Janava Mata's sitting place, and just to the left of Janava Mata herself, inside this little temple next door, is Gopinath again. And on Gopinath's right is Sri Radhika, and on Gopinath's left again is Ananga Manjari. So she's there too, the younger sister of Sri Radhika. And her sacred island or kunja is just right in the middle of the waters there. So this appreciation of this personality, Ananga Manjari, is remembered while we're here. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in particular, he glorifies Ananga Manjari extensively. And he, right at the very beginning, in the first chapter of Jaivadharma, when Sannyasi Thakur is sitting next to Premdas Babaji, and he's saying, silence the monkey Kakati. Otherwise, Ananga Manjari is indicating, otherwise Lalita Devi is going to be unhappy. So right at the beginning, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is showing his lineage in connection with Ananga Manjari. And here in Gautram Dweep, he names his place of residence as Swananda Sukada Kunj. This is the name of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's residence here. So when we ever think or hear of that name, we remember directly Sri, oh, this is the Gopinath deity, yes. So you see on Gopinath's left-hand side, which is normally reserved for Sri Radhika, then Radhika has allowed her dear younger sister, Ananga Manjari, to take that most special position on the left of Gopinath. And on Gopinath's right is Sri Radhika. So this is right next to Janava Mata's Baitak. These are the deities right in the center. These deities, by the way, are facing directly the samadhi of Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das, is our Prayojanacharya, and the Ishtadev of the Prayojan Tattva is Gopinath. So here we have Gopinath and Raghunath Das together. And we walk around a little further and we get to Govinda Dev, and there's the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami in that particular temple. And we go a little further and we come to the modern Mohan temple if we're doing parikrama of Radha-kunda. And right next to modern Mohan is who? There is Sanatana Goswami's Bhajan Kutia. So again, we're remembering these great personalities in connection with the places where we're coming, because we always have to pray to them, just like we have to take shelter of our beloved Gurudev, even to come to Radha-kunda, take shelter of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to come to Radha-kunda. And we're taking shelter of Raghunath, Rupa Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami to have darshan of these sacred places in Radha-kunda. So this is just touching on Radha-kunda in connection with Kusuma-sarovara, because after Kusuma-sarovara, of course, all the gopis and Krishna, they move to come into. Is that you supposed to tell me to slow down or what? Okay, but to come to Radha-kunda. And Vrinda Devi, she's always there arranging for all of their the facilities that they need for their extraordinary pastimes of their bathing and their feasting, their gambling matches and so on. And these are all described in the writings of the Goswamis. So Radha-kunda is like the very pinnacle of the heartbeat of this, the speciality of the relationship between Radha and Krishna. When we hear these pastimes, it can just purify this impersonal tendencies that we've been born with, basically. So it's so important for the sadhaks to come to Vrindavan, to come to Govardhan, to come to Radha-kunda in particular, and purify these impersonal conceptions that we may still be holding on to, and appreciate the pastime places and descriptions here that we become absorbed in while we have the fortune to stay there. So this is Radha-kunda, and then Kusuma-sarovara, and then, as I've described, we've come back into the township of Giriraj Govardhan, and we're celebrating our Dipavali today with lamps, many, many lamps. So I'll just conclude here that please appreciate that there are unlimited millions of pastimes. I think I described right at the beginning that one personality had written a book, Narayan Bhatta Goswami, on 60,000 of Krishna's pastimes in Braj, and they were mentioning it to my Gurudev. And my Gurudev said, no, wrong. Every single step that Krishna takes in Braj is a celebrated pastime, which is why the Goswamis would sleep under a different tree every night to hear those different pastimes being shared by the different trees. So we have so many thousands and millions of different impressions that we're praying to become qualified to meditate upon and reflect upon more than we do about the nature of this material world around us. Jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Radha-kunda Shamakund ki jai, Kusuma-sarovara ki jai, Uddhava-kunda ki jai, Giriraj Govardhan ki jai, Dipavali ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. That last point about the Goswami sleeping under a tree each night was just amazing. So beautiful, so sweet.
The trees would relate the pastimes themselves. The trees, of course, are all animate in Braj. If you sit next to any tree in Braj, if you lean against any tree and devotionally put your ear to that tree will relate a mood of a pastime that took place right there. Braj is so much alive. Don't think that we're just talking from sort of textbooks, but actually the reality of Braj. It's fully animate. The stones, the dust in particular, the dust is the most sacred. What to speak of the cows and Giriraj himself, herself, and the kunds, all vibrant.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. And please forgive my yawns. I yawn till like well into the afternoon until I stop yawning. So So it's just one of my many shortcomings.
When the MC starts yawning, you have to think, oh, is he sending me a message there?
No, I'm yawning all the way through. Sometimes I remember to turn my camera off, and sometimes I forget. But I'm still engaged. I'm just yawning because
no problem.
The material defect. Actually, Jiva Parva Prabhu, I think, noticed yesterday and sent me some message about how yawning is one of the symptoms of ecstasy. I wouldn't go that far in my case.
Just a point, Taranji, just an extra point here. If anyone wants to do a sort of more detailed parikrama, I've made a little book that I think I sent on our parikrama WhatsApp link, and you could just put that link in the chat box there, and it's just a description of all the different places in Radha-kunda, all the different temples and mantras that we can chant at each temple, and it takes us in a complete parikrama directly of Radha-kunda and Shama-kunda. So that's a little booklet that you can download there. If you have that there, Tarun, you can.
I'm gonna upload it now.
Throw it into that just for the devotee's pleasure. I think Yashoda is impatiently waiting to ask a question.
Ask your question while I sort this out.
Very, very patiently, Maharaj, because you've put me in a very nice state of meditation. I thought it was really beautiful how you contextualized Kusuma-sarovara within the context of the Ashtakaliya Lila. It brings everything out even more alive than it already is. That was, and as the precursor, as the build-up to the pastimes at Radha-kunda, that was wonderful.
And then after, just to follow that through to the end, then after Madhyana Lila, we come to the Apurvana Lila, which is when Krishna comes back to the cowherd boys. Right. And then there's a Sayam Lila when he takes all the cows back into the village of Braj. And then there's the Pradosh Lila, which is just prior to the nighttime pastimes, when all the villagers gather together and they celebrate, songs and dramas, etc. And then is the Ratri Lila. It's important, this Ashtakaliya Lila is described in the 38th chapter of Jayavardhana.
And also, it was nice. It was like a prequel to Nemi Maharaj's Harikatha. It was like really great, kind of Star Wars style. Go to the further one, then prequel it. Very beautiful. Manas Singh, who built the Ghat, you said he raided he entered the coffers in Delhi. He must have been a pretty special personality. What was his? Can you say anything?
Well, all these persons were Rajasthanis, of course, and Rajasthanis are very much a Kshatriya breed of people. Even today, most of the Indian army is made up of Rajasthanis, and they have that nature. So he was one of those kings from Gwalior or Bharatpur, which is there. And many of these personalities, they contributed because they were like the Raja Rishis. In a sense, they were fully devotional and devoted to Krishna's pastimes. Just like Brajranabha that I mentioned at the beginning, he was a saintly king and fully devoted to manifesting all of these pastime places, which of course the Goswamis renovate or rediscovered from him. So this is like the history. Is it the ontological sequence from that? No, it's not.
No, it's absolutely not. It's exactly not that.
Okay, just check.
Private joke. Maharaj, on our list, we had Yama Chaturdasi, which I understand is the offering of the 14 lights. Is that right?
No, it's the fourth. It's the fourth day. I explained to Manini this morning. We've had Ekadasi, Dwadasi, Trayodasi, and yesterday was the Chaturdasi, right? Or is that today? No, today is not.
Now, when today's list, but we may have got the TT wrong. Yeah, because we took it off 2019.
The Chaturdasi means the fourth day, basically, after Ekadashi. That's what it means.
Why is it called Yama? Why is it Yama Chaturdasi?
Yama, I'm not sure, really and truly. Maybe.
Because on the calendar, because Chaturdasi obviously it's one of the titis, it's clearly it's the fourth day, but on our calendar it says offering 14 lamps in temple.
I don't know if Yamas for Yamaraj, but that's like
Maharaj, on the on our calendar it says offering 14 lamps in the temple. So I don't know what that is, but
okay,
not to worry.
I was explaining to Manini, because our culture, we haven't been brought up with this. Most Indian-bodied people living here in India have been brought up every single year to celebrate Dipavali, just like we celebrate Christmas in the West. So they've been brought up with this, so it's very comfortable for them to discuss it. But I don't know all those things, you know. I haven't been brought up with it. All I know is that we celebrate the return of Ram to Ayodhya and the manifestation of the Ganga and all the different descriptions that Srila Gurudev has described about the celebration of light from darkness. Okay, Tarunji.
We have a question. Oh no, that wasn't a question. Sorry. Jiva Bhava's comment confused me. Okay, so now's the end of our program. We do have kirtan, but I want to thank everyone, all the speakers, all the participants, all of those who are doing wonderful service in the background. Thank you all. Haribol. We now have beautiful kirtan. We're going to be hearing Sri Nanda Nandan Ashtakam, and I always can't pronounce this one. Sri Radha-kunda parikrama Raja, and Srimati Mamata Didi is going to sing these ones for us. And I'll ask you to unmute now.
Dandut Pranam Maharajashi and all devotees. I don't know what happened to my camera, but can you see me? Because mine is blank. So it doesn't matter.
No, I can't see you.
I don't know what happened. I am trying to, but it's black, no, Tarunji?
Yeah, it is black.
Yes, I have a cover, but the cover is not on. Oh, it was. Oh my God. Ramananda Prabhuji. I don't know what happened. Okay.
There you are.
Okay.
Okay.
Sucharu Vektramandalam Sukarnaratnakundalam Sucharchitanga Chandanam Namami Nandanandanam Sudirghanetra pankajam Sikandamurtajam Anangakoti mohanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Nasikagramautikam Swachandadantapantikam Navambutangachikhanam Namami Nandanandanam Karena Venuranjitam Katikarindraganchitam Dukulapita Shobhanam Namami Nandanandanam Tribhanga Sundaram Nakhadyuti Sudakaram Amulya रत्नभूषणं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं सुगन्ध अङ्गसौरभम् उरोविराजिकाष्टुभम् स्फुरच्छ्रीवत्सलञ्चनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं वृन्दावनासुनागरं विलासनुगवाससं सुरेन्द्रगर्वमोचनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं व्रजङ्गनासुनायकं सदा सुखप्रदायकं जगन्मनाप्रलोभनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं श्रीनन्दानन्दनाष्टकं पतेत्य श्राद्धयन्विता तरेद्भवं दिदुष्टरं लभेतद्रङ्गियुग्मकं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनं नमामि नन्दनन्दनम् मुनीन्द्रवीन्द्रवन्दिते त्रिलोकशोकहारिणि प्रसन्नवक्त्रपङ्कजे निकुञ्जभुविलासिनि व्रजेन्द्रभानुनन्दनि व्रजेन्द्रसूनु सङ्गते कदा करिष्यसि कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अशोकवृक्षवल्लरी वितानबन्धपस्थिते प्रवालवल्लपल्लव प्रभानुराङ्घ्रिकोमले वराभयस्फुरत्करे प्रभूतसम्पदालये कदा करिष्यसि कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अनङ्गरङ्गमङ्गला प्रसङ्गभङ्गुरभ्रुवं सविभ्रमं श्रमं भ्रमं त्रिकन्तपानपातने निरन्तरावसीकृता प्रदीप्तिनन्दनन्दने कदा करिष्यसि कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् तदित्सुवर्णचम्पका प्रदीप्तगौरविग्रहे मुखाप्रभा पराष्टकोटि शारदेन्दुमण्डले विचित्रचित्रसञ्चरचकोरसावलोचने कदा करिष्यसि कृपाकटाक्षभाजनं मदो मदाति यौवने प्रमोदमानमण्डिते प्रियानुरागरञ्जिते कलाविलासपण्डिते अनन्यधन्यकुञ्जराजकामकेलि कोविदे कदा करिष्यसि कृपाकटाक्षभाजनम् अशेष भावधीर धीरहारभूषिते प्रभूत साता कुंभ कुंभ कुंभी कुंभ शुष्टने प्रशास्त मंदहश्च चूर्ण पूर्ण सौख्य सागरे कदाकरी शशिहमं कृपाकटाक्ष भाजनं मृणालवालवल्लरी तरङ्गारङ्गदोर्लति लताग्रलास्यलोलनीललोचना वलोकने ललन्मुलन्मिलन्मनोज्ञमोहनाश्रिते कदाकरी शशिहमं कृपाकटाक्ष भाजनं सुवर्णमालिकञ्चिता त्रिरेखकं भूकण्ठके त्रिसूत्रमङ्गलीगुणा त्रिरत्नदीप्तिदीधिते सलोलनीलकुन्तला प्रसून कुजदुम्बिते कदाकरी शशिहमं कृपाकटाक्ष भाजनं नितम्बाभिं फलम्भमान पुष्पमे खलागुणे प्रशास्तरत्नकिङ्कणी कलापमध्यमञ्जुले करीन्द्रसुन्दरन्दिकावरोह सौभगोरुके कदाकरी शशिहमं कृपाकटाक्ष भाजनं अनेक मन्त्रनादमञ्जु नूपुरारवस्खलत् समाजराजहं शवं स निघ्वनाति गौरवे विलोला हेमवल्लरी विदाम्बिचारुचङ्क्रमे कदाकरी शशिहमं कृपाकटाक्ष भाजनम् अनन्तकोटिविष्णुलोकनम्रपार्मचाचिते हिमाद्रिचा पुलोमजा विरिञ्चावराप्रदे अपार सिद्धिरिक्तिदीप्त सत्पदङ्कुले नखे कदाकरी शशिहमं कृपाकटाक्ष भाजनं माहेश्वरी क्रियेश्वरी स्वदेश्वरी सुरेश्वरी त्रिवेद भारतेश्वरी प्रमाण शासनेश्वरी रमेश्वरी क्षमेश्वरी प्रमोद काननेश्वरी व्रजेश्वरी व्रजाधिपे शिराधिके नमोस्तुते शिराधिके नमोस्तुते शिराधिके नमोस्तुते शिराधिके नमोस्तुते शिराधिके नमोस्तुते इति ममस्तुभं स्तवं निशम्य भानुनन्दने करोतु सन्ततं जनं कृपाकटाक्ष भाजनं भवेत् तदैव सञ्चिता त्रिरूपकर्णनाशनं भवेत् तदा व्रजेन्द्रसूनु मण्डलाप्रवेशनं कदाकरी शशिहनं कृपाकटाक्ष भाजनं कदाकरी शशिहनं कृपाकटाक्ष भाजनम्. Gurudev ki jai.
Jai.
Bye.
I feel like Maharaj is about to say something. Am I wrong?
It was so beautiful. Wonderful to hear. Totally wonderful. Grateful.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice. Dandavad Stiti. Beautiful.
So much. So nice to hear these prayers. So now, before we finish, I realized I forgot to announce the upcoming programs. So tonight we're going to the same places as Radha-kunda, Uddhava-kunda, Kusuma-sarovara with Srimati Shamarani Didi and Shriman Mukunda Prabhu. So really auspicious opportunity to hear more on these places. And then tomorrow is Govardhan Puja. It's the Anakut festival. So we'll be hearing about this festival from both Maharajas, and then we will also be hearing about the second verse of Damodar Ashtakam.
No. Tomorrow, Nemi Maharaj will speak about Govardhan Puja, and I'll speak about Gokrida, which is worship of the cows. Okay. So there's two slots for tomorrow. He'll have the first one, glorifying Govardhan. The following day, we speak on Damodar Ashtakam.
Okay, no Damodar Ashtakam. Tomorrow. Okay, awesome.
Correct. That's on Saturday.
This calendar is wrong. It's not my fault, guys. That wasn't me. That was misinformation. I've been set up.
Fake news. No problem.
Exactly. Haribo.
Yeah.
Mancha kalpa turiyascha kripa sindhuva evacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Haribo.